Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Today channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Carter is played. Carter Walton enters Steffy Forrester's trap without trying. According to 2-week spoilers for Bold and the Beautiful, Carter Walton is precisely where Daphne Rose and Steffy Forrester want him to be. Daphne should remove Carter from Hope Logan and Forrester Creations, according to Steffy. And when Daphne woos Carter this week, her strategy succeeds. Carter Walton spoilers for Bold and the Beautiful. Furthermore, Hope may not even be aware of what is going on because she is so preoccupied with the reason Steffy returned to work. Later on in Bold and the Beautiful, Daphne encounters Zend Forrester, which could make her plot more difficult. Next 2 weeks at B&B, Finn's head is turning. John Finn Finnegan is a mess, while Carter Walton is intoxicated by Daphne Rose. He can't stop thinking about the likelihood that Luna Nozawa is his daughter this week. She is a murderer who attempted to assassinate Steffy Forrester, his wife. It is therefore horrifying to consider that he is her father. It's difficult for John Finnegan to control his emotions. Later on, he remains his family's pillar of support. This undoubtedly alludes to his family on Bold and the Beautiful, with Steffy. On the other hand, the Nozawa family can also be mentioned. Poppy Nozawa is stressing out this week since Luna isn't incarcerated. He might therefore attempt to reassure her and provide her with some information. Yes, Lee Finnegan, his mother, will be concerned as well. Furthermore, Steffy may become alarmed if she learns, fearing that Luna may pursue her once more. Will Spencer responds to Elector Forrester's inquiries concerning Luna in another scene at the Spencer estate. But neither of them realizes she's in the house with them and is most likely listening in. 2-week spoilers for Bold and the Beautiful, February 3rd to 14th, Steffy wins, Finn is shocked, and Hope is astonished. 2-week spoilers for Bold and the Beautiful, Brooke takes a dangerous step. Brooke Logan visits Ridge Forrester at another location on B&B. She may be trying one more time to convince him that she didn't turn on him. She probably doesn't want him back, though. He hurried to Taylor Hayes, after all. But if Taylor is present, she's probably going to believe that Brooke is courting Ridge on Bold and the Beautiful once more. Hope Logan, her daughter, is fixated on learning the truth about Steffy's homecoming. Ridge steepled his fingers and leaned back in his chair, looking about him like a chessboard of individuals. Every move was planned, every piece was positioned for maximum effect, it was all about strategy. And the key at the moment was Carter Walton. Ridge needed to deceive Carter and keep him in the dark just enough to prevent him from the truth if he hoped to protect his family's future and eliminate threats before they got out of hand. At least Ridge assured himself that it wasn't personal. It was merely survival and business. Carter had always been dependable and trusted Ridge, but Ridge wasn't scared to use that trust as a weapon. Ridge sensed an opening as Daphne slowly made her way into Carter's life. He could control the story and make sure Carter remained an ally rather than an issue if he could carefully maneuver the situation. It wouldn't take much, a well-placed suggestion here, a deceptive discussion there. Carter, however, was not a fool. He had spent years juggling betrayals and power struggles in the competitive world of Forrester Creations. When anything didn't add up, he recognized it. Ridge had also been acting a little differently lately. Ambiguous responses, sidesteps, and times when he appeared to be holding something just out of grasp. Carter had a gut feeling he was being duped, but by whom? And why? Daphne, meanwhile, had her own goals and wasn't merely a pawn in Ridge's scheme. Ridge was gravely mistaken if he believed he was the only one in charge of the pieces. She knew she had Carter just where she wanted him. By sowing little seeds of suspicion, she fueled Carter's skepticism and caused him to wonder what was real and what was being planned behind his back. The tension increased over the next few days. Carter was forced to decide whether to keep blindly trusting Ridge or to begin tearing apart the web of deceit that was encircling him. What about Ridge? He kept a close eye on things since he knew that one mistake could bring everything to an abrupt end. The grand scheme was underway, but treachery was always a step away in a game where trust was a currency. Finn was sitting by himself in his dark office, holding on to the edge of his desk until his knuckles were white. No matter how hard he tried to control his emotions, the storm inside of him continued to roar, and his world was spiraling out of control. Everything he believed to be true was destroyed by the DNA test that proved Luna was his daughter. The years of deception, Poppy's dishonesty, and the lost time he could have spent with Luna were all too much. He forced himself to remain composed as he tightened his jaw and let out a strong breath through his nose. He had established a life with Steffi and a family, but now he was on a fault line and didn't know when it would all fall apart. Daphne, meantime, had her sights set on Carter across town and wasn't going to let anything get in the way. Carter had always been the kind of woman who knew how to get what she wanted. She discovered him alone himself in his office, his chiseled features sharply shadowed by the warm glow of the desk lamp. Startled by her unexpected appearance, he looked up, but before he could say anything, she silenced him with a well-groomed finger. With a sneaky smile teasing the edges of her mouth, she muttered, "No words. Simply let go." Carter was aware that this needed to end. Whatever game Daphne was playing, he knew it was risky. But his determination broke down as she approached him, her perfume wafting intoxicatingly, her fingertips moving slowly and deliberately down his chest. There was something captivating, almost seductive, about Daphne's energy. His body was already failing him, but his mind was screaming for him to think, to recall the repercussions. Brooke was getting ready for her own surprise at the Forrester mansion. She had been drawn into the never-ending cycle of love, betrayal, and reconciliation for years as she pursued Ridge. She had a different plan, though, this time. She was going to make sure Ridge couldn't resist, not just wait for him to approach her. Ridge wasn't prepared to find Brooke relaxing on the couch with a bottle of his favorite whiskey in hand and a knowing smile on her lips when he arrived at his office later that evening, worn out from the stress of his own family's turmoil. He halted abruptly and arched an eyebrow. "Brooke, what are you doing here?" he questioned hesitantly. She gave him one of the 2 cups she had poured. "With ease," she said, "I thought you could use a distraction." After a brief moment of hesitation, Ridge accepted the glass. He was aware. Brooke is superior to everyone. She had a reason for being here, not merely to have a drink. Knowing Brooke, that goal has the power to transform everything. Carter has always been a disciplined man who took great satisfaction in his ability to maintain control in both his personal and professional life. However, he had been losing that control lately, and he could sense it disintegrating every second. Even though it had begun innocently enough, a light-hearted chat here, a fleeting glance there, the weight of his temptation was now pressing down on him like a vice as he stood by himself in his office late at night. Every encounter with Daphne left him wanting more. She was a tornado that had blown into his life with an unexpected fury. Her grin taunted him in his dreams, her laughter reverberated in his memory, and he couldn't get her skin off his fingertips. The more he tried to detach himself, the more magnetic the attraction got, despite his best efforts to resist and maintain professionalism. She seemed to be able to look straight through him, past the barriers he had so meticulously built, and into the aspects of himself he had concealed. He recalled how she had gazed at him in that previous encounter, her body language a silent invitation, her eyes dark and seductive. The tension in the room had nothing to do with business, they had been reviewing a contract. He had nearly gasped when the energy that went through him touched his hand as she offered him a file. More than once, he had seen her observing him, her eyes moving over him with a hunger that reflected his own. The thrill and danger of it only increased his desire for her, even though he knew he was playing with fire and that giving in could ruin everything he had worked so hard to achieve. Her name flashed on the screen as his phone buzzed on the desk. A straightforward message, "I can't sleep. I'm thinking of you." He fought with himself, closing his eyes and taking a deep breath. His fingers were already composing a reply, but he knew he should ignore it and wait for the moment to pass. "I'm in the workplace. Stop by." His pulse accelerated as soon as he pushed send, a heady mixture of anxiety and excitement churning in his stomach. He paced the room in an attempt to decompress, but to no avail. He had already lost his way. Daphne's arrival flooded the room with a thrilling and suffocating presence. Her eyes met his as she gently closed the door behind her, and all pretense vanished in that moment. He didn't hesitate when she took a few swift steps across the room and reached for him with her hands. Everything else vanished as his lips met hers, including the laws, the penalties, and the people they were betraying. The way she melted into him and clung to him like he was her lifeline was all that mattered. However, a voice in the back of Carter's mind begged him to stop, to remember who he was and what he stood to lose, even as they lost themselves in each other. However, the desire had already gotten out of control and pulled him into a world where morality was irrelevant. Carter also realized that there would be no going back as the night went on. Finn's heart pounded in his chest as he sat motionless, gazing at the DNA test results in his hands. In an instant, everything in his universe had changed, and despite his best efforts to comprehend it, the situation's actuality was too much to handle. His daughter was named Luna. He had the proof in front of him, unquestionable, incontrovertible, and transformative. For years, Poppy had kept this huge truth hidden below layers of deceit, lying to him. Now it didn't matter that he wanted to scream, to demand answers, to go back in time and find the truth sooner. What he was going to do next was what counted. His carefully constructed life, his marriage to Steffi, and his sense of self all seemed to be on the verge of collapse. His breath was shaky and shallow as he gripped the paper so firmly that his fingers hurt. How could Poppy have hurt him like this? To Luna? To every one of them? Poppy, meantime, was solving a mystery of her own that made her shiver and gave her a persistent sense of dread. Although she had always worried that her history would haunt her, she never imagined it would do so in this manner. She had rushed to the nearby prison after receiving a mysterious phone call, her mind racing with potential outcomes and her heart in her throat. And the scene that met her eyes when she got there almost made her gasp for air. There was nothing left but questions and a mounting sense of doom after the prisoner she had fervently intended to keep buried in the past disappeared. Her stomach began to twist like a knife as panic struck. Secrets were going to be revealed if this guy was out. Risky, transformative secrets. Ones that may endanger her, undermine the tenuous life she had managed to lead, and possibly ruin her. A guard looked at her doubtfully as she gulped hard and gripped the cold metal bars in front of her. "You mean they've disappeared?" Her voice was hardly heard as she whispered. Uninterested in the urgency in her remarks, the guard shrugged. "Transferred. There is no paperwork. It can have been inadvertent or deliberate. In any case, they are no longer present." Poppy's heart froze. This was not an error. This had been planned by someone, and she had a horrible suspicion that she knew who it was. Daphne was engaged in a completely other game across town, one that required careful manipulation, seduction, and control. Right now, she wanted Carter, and she knew how to get it. He was a strong, moral, and devoted man, but he was also weak, which made him the ideal target. After spending weeks constructing her web and gradually dismantling his barriers, she was now prepared to attack. She discovered him by himself in his office, his attractive face deeply shadowed by the low lighting. When she entered, he looked up, his eyes cautious yet unavoidably drawn to her. She took a step closer and smiled slowly and deliberately. Her voice was smooth as she whispered, "You've been working too hard." Carter shook his head and let out a deep exhale. "Whatever you're doing, Daphne, it's not a good idea." She closed the distance between them until their bodies nearly touched, ignoring his feeble protest. Why struggle against the inevitable? She reached up and delicately traced her fingertips across his chest in a whisper. "You want this, I know that. I am aware that you sense it." And he did. He did, thank God. Daphne knew she had already won the fight that raged inside him as he struggled between want and reason. With a single kiss, she sealed his doom by pressing her lips against his. As the night went on, 3 lives went awry. Carter gave in to the seduction of a woman who knew just how to make him forget every boundary he vowed he would never cross, Poppy was consumed with the prison finding that threatened her future, and Finn drowned under the weight of his DNA bombshell. However, even the best-laid plans might end in disaster due to fate, and none of them were ready for what was about to happen. Something about Daphne Rose unnerved Zend, who had always been slick, self-assured, and effortlessly charming, in the best manner conceivable. She was captivating, beautiful, enigmatic, and much more sly than she admitted. They had previously crossed paths in passing, but this time was different. Neither of them appeared really interested in putting out the slow-burning fire that was their chemistry tonight. At an after-hours event in Forrester, it had begun as a casual discussion, but soon the two of them had separated from the crowd, their laughing resonating through the darkened hallways of the Forrester estate. The way she handled herself, poised yet with a lethal edge, shameful but unexpected, drew Zend in. And Daphne? He enjoyed a challenge. She was turning out to be the most exciting of them all. With a cheeky pout on her lips, Daphne drew closer. I believe you're accustomed to obtaining what you desire, Zend. He raised an eyebrow and laughed. And you're not? Pretending to think about what he had said, she cocked her head. Perhaps. However, I enjoy making others work for it. For a moment, everything else vanished as their eyes met. It was even more thrilling, because he knew he was entering perilous area. His hand grabbed her waist and drew her a fraction of an inch closer, before he could change his mind. What if the challenge appeals to me? Daphne didn't back down even though her breath caught. Rather, she leaned closer, whispering into his mouth. You had better be prepared to play. Across town, Steffi Forrester was working on her own plan, which she had been meticulously developing for weeks. She had put in too much effort and made too many sacrifices for anything or anyone to jeopardize the life she had created with Finn. However, the unexpected occurred just as everything appeared to be coming together. Her well-thought-out intentions were derailed when she learned about Zend and Daphne's intense bond. Daphne was intended to serve as a pawn, a diversion, and as somebody she could control, to keep Carter busy and away from Forrester's affairs. However, if she and Zend were now involved, things might get out of hand. Unpredictability was something Steffi detested, and Daphne was demonstrating it. With options already swimming through her mind, Steffi clenched her jaw. Before things got out of control, she had to get back in charge. However, with feelings running high and sparks flying between Zend and Daphne, it was obvious that nothing was going to proceed as planned. And that was just not an option for Steffi Forrester. Steffi's deceit, Poppy's panic, and Daphne's seduction. Here are spoilers for Tuesday, February 4th, 2025's episode of The Bold and the Beautiful. Fans can anticipate Daphne Rose seducing Carter Walton in tomorrow's episode. Penelope Poppy Nozawa, meantime, can't get Luna Nozawa from becoming lost in the criminal justice system out of her mind. Spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, Steffi Forrester Finnegan's deceit. According to BNB spoilers on Tuesday, February 4th, Steffi Forrester Finnegan will remain optimistic about her strategy. The Bold and the Beautiful, do you want more? Receive the most recent information on The Bold and the Beautiful, delivered directly to your inbox. Daphne is after Carter while Steffi takes advantage of Hope Logan's, Annika Noel, concern for her. Steffi believes that the LLC plan will be miraculously undone when Daphne pulls Carter away from Hope. BNB spoilers, the allure of Daphne Rose. Steffi is aware that she is beginning to influence Hope's thoughts. Additionally, Steffi is aware that Hope is beginning to worry more about her presence there than about Carter. Steffi will therefore grin subtly in the hopes that Carter is starting to become enchanted. Hope is unaware that Carter is about to turn on her with Daphne. But there's still a potential that someone may interrupt or Carter will pull away. Spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, Poppy Nozawa's crazy panic. Poppy went to the prison to confess to Luna, according to Tuesday, February 4th spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful. Poppy is aware that she must now speak the truth since she has no other option. But Poppy's plan to reveal Luna's birth father's identity didn't work out. Poppy just found out that she is unable to see Luna and that she is in the criminal justice system, though not at that specific jail. It may take Poppy some time to understand that Luna is closer than she thought, because the warden was rather astute in avoiding saying house arrest. Lee Finnegan might even be informed of Luna's condition by Poppy. Lee may not give a damn about Luna's fate, but she will want to make sure she never leaves prison. Lee could be concerned about that. It's simple to picture Lee beginning to look into a new mystery. Read more. Spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful. Steffi's tough ultimatum. Is the relationship between Finn and Luna at risk? B&B spoilers for February 4, 2025, Tuesday. Fans can also anticipate that Luna will continue to swoon over Bill Spencer saving her from jail in tomorrow's episode. Who is pretending to be Luna's therapist while Bill believes he is? Sometimes Luna seems to be in control, while other times we question whether Bill is helping her. Finn sat by himself in his office, his hands shaking as he looked down at the DNA findings that validated his fears and his deepest hopes. His daughter was named Luna. His mind was still having trouble accepting the words, even though they were printed clearly on the paper before him. The weight of the truth settled over him like a big storm cloud, and his heart thumped in his chest. Steffi needed to know, so he should tell her, but he was hesitant. Everything would be different after he told the truth. His entire future with Steffi, including his marriage and family, may be in jeopardy. With a sharp exhale, he sat back in his chair and ran a hand through his hair. This was about more than just him, it was also about Luna, Poppy, and the life he had created with Steffi. Would she ever be able to forgive him for keeping the results from her? Would she see why it took him some time to come to terms with it? He wasn't entirely certain. For their family, Steffi was strong, devoted, and protective. She may consider it a betrayal if she found out that he had a child with someone else, a child he had been unaware of until now. Finn's breath was shallow as he considered Poppy, and his fingers curled around the paper's edges. After years of lying to him and hiding this secret, everything came crashing down with a single test result. Not only did he want answers, but he also wanted to know why she had done this. Had she been keeping him safe? Defending Luna? Had she been defending herself instead? He was startled by a gentle tap on the door, and his heartbeat quickened as Steffi's words echoed through the space. Finn? Are you inside? Before yelling, "Yeah, come in," he hastily folded the DNA findings and stuffed them into his desk drawer. As soon as Steffi entered, she looked at his face. "Are you all right? You appear tense." Though he knew she could see right through him, Finn faked a tiny smile. "It was just a long day." She took a step forward and touched his arm. "Are you certain that's it?" He nodded, his throat constricted. He was not yet prepared for the consequences, even though he detested lying to her and concealing something so important from her. He required time to reflect and determine the implications of this for himself, Luna, and everyone else. Steffi's brows furrowed slightly as she observed him for a moment. "All well, but you know you can let me know if something's amiss, don't you?" Finn took a deep breath and nodded once more. "Indeed. I am aware." He secretly questioned whether or not he would ever be able to tell her the truth. Because there would be no going back once he did.